The role for which the government was brought together to be of service to its people, particularly at the federal level in this country and others for the purposes of national security, has kind of been broken in the internet age. So we have, for example, organizations of the US government, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, who are responsible for protecting our national borders. They know how to do that. They've been doing it, for centuries. What does that look like in cyberspace? Nobody really knows. The systems of control, border guards, gate guns, customs, immigrations, air traffic control, all of that stuff doesn't work on the internet. And so they're struggling to figure out what it looks like. The branches of government that would protect us, both at the nation state level from a national security perspective, and then also at the domestic level from a law enforcement perspective, are completely broken by the internet, and they have not figured out any good ways to respond. And I'll talk about sort of on the policing side. If you had a bank robbery here in Manhattan, in Times Square, okay, guy walks in, holds up a teller, walks out with a bag of money. What do we know about that crime? All right, this is CSI, C-SPAN edition here. All right, what do we know about that crime? We know that the criminal was physically present in the city of New York. That means Midtown South has jurisdiction. We know it was a bank, so the FBI will be involved. We know that the victim was in New York City. The criminal was in New York City. There's co-jurisdiction there. We know that there may have been evidence left behind because of fingerprints, DNA, photographs taken at the scene. Those were the good old days. Now, the very same crime could be committed by somebody in Novosibirsk or in El Salvador or someplace halfway around the world. And we have very little evidential trails to follow up on. And even if we did, and I experienced this myself when I was a police officer, if I identified that a suspect, when I was with the police department, if I identified as an LAPD officer that the suspect was coming from Paris, for example, do you know how hard it is for a local cop to get evidence out of Paris, right? It relies upon mutual legal assistance treaties. I had to go ahead and fill out a form that went to my chief of detectives, went to the lieutenant, office of the chief of police, LA County Sheriff, California Department of Justice, FBI, over to the State Department, who would serve it on the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who would give it to the French Home Office, Minister of Justice, who would give it to the Parisian police. That whole process was a 2-year process to find out who the owner of an IP address was. We have some technical people in the audience, right? Does it take 2 years to change an IP address? No, it takes about 2 seconds. So the systems are fundamentally mismatched. And from a public policy, legal perspective, regulatory perspective, we got nothing on the horizon to sort this out.